What's going on, guys, man? Welcome to another episode of The Winning Shot. I'm your boy, Zach. Before we jump into today's episode, though, make sure you're following along. Hit that subscribe button, like, comment, talk to us, man. Let us know what y'all thinking, man. Let's get into the episode. So today, man, we got a special episode for y'all, man. Solo episode. I'm not with my boys Colin and John today. But we got some good stuff for y'all today, man. We talking women's basketball. We're gonna dive deep into it. Non-conference slate, mid-major teams, the teams we know about, the players we know about. We're gonna jump into it all, man. We're in the middle of conference play. It just started around the country, so we're gonna jump right into it, man. Some things that we learned in non-conference play, man. We saw a lot of good things, man. There was a lot of teams that came out, showed up. Notre Dame, for example, they had a tough little non-conference slate. They played a good schedule. They had TCU on there, USC, UConn, Utah, Texas. I was very impressed with how they came out of things. They dropped back-to-back games in a holiday tournament. They lost to TCU and they lost to Utah, but then they turned around and beat Texas, and they turned around and beat UConn. So those were two big wins back to back, coming off of two losses. So I was very impressed by them. We saw UCLA take down South Carolina at home. That was a big win for them, and they've had their foot on the gas all season. They're the number one seed, number one team right now in the country. Kiki Rice, Lauren Betts, London Jones. They look strong out west. In their first year in the Big Ten, we're going to see how they do. With conference play starting up, they definitely have USC to deal with as well. Southern Cal, Juju Watkins, Kiki, Ohio State, Cody McMahon. They have a tough little stretch coming up in the Big Ten. So we're going to see how they respond to things. We saw teams like LSU dominate in non-conference play. They had a little scare against University of Albany, and we'll talk a little bit more about Albany a little bit later on because they're a talented team. But they had a little scare. That score ended up being a little lopsided. Finishing out the last 7 minutes, I think Albany scored like 2 points, but it was like a 2-point game going into the fourth quarter, and throughout the fourth quarter until like the last, like I said, the last 7 minutes when LSU just broke away and Albany was unable to score. But let's just jump right into it. Like I said, we're gonna talk about mid-major stuff. So we had some A10 action the other day. I think the A10 is definitely one of the deepest conferences. When we think about mid-major conferences, I definitely think the A10 is one of the, if not the best mid-major conference in the country. A lot of teams with a lot of talent, they're going to beat up on each other. Unfortunately, throughout the season, that's just how it is in the A10. But, Thursday night, let's take a look back at some of those games in the A10. You had St. Joe's beat George Mason 61-55. And for George Mason, they kind of got off to a slow start. I think they were down by like 10 or 11 points in the first quarter. And Paula Suarez kind of put the team on her back in that first quarter. She had all 13 points for George Mason, just to try to keep them, hanging around. And as you can tell by the final score, they did compete. They got it down to like 2 points late in the fourth quarter, a couple of times. But they were just unable to compete with St. Joe's, who's one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. They currently rank 8th in three-point field goal percentage in the country, so they can shoot the ball. They can let it fly. They're averaging, 38.7% as a team from deep. Laura Ziegler is leading the way. She's averaging 17 points and 11 boards. She's leading the conference in rebounds, and she's third in scoring. St. Joe's has 3 players in the top 5 in the conference when it comes to points per game. So they can really light it up. They spread it around. And like I said, they shoot the 3 ball. She's third in the conference and averaging 4.8 assists. So Ziegler is clearly a front runner for conference player of the year. We'll see how she ends up in conference play. They have Taylor Brugler. She averages 17. She's 4th in the conference, shoots 45% from 3. Mackenzie Smith averages 16. She's 5th in the conference in scoring, and she shoots 47% from 3. So they have a lot of shooters. We're going to see how they stack up against the rest of the A10. That's going to be an interesting team to watch and follow. And just like last year, we had, Richmond, VCU, St. Joe's, all kind of battling atop the A10 conference. So we're going to see how that shakes out. Also on Thursday night, we have VCU get past Duquesne. They won by narrow 2 points, 65-63. Mary Anna Asare finished with a career high 37 points. She's a tough guard. She's leading them in points per game. They're missing their second best player right now. So we're going to see if Mary can, put the team on her back and what she can do in the tough A10 division conference. So we're going to see. For them, they picked up a big win in conference play. They knocked off Richmond 80-78, and Richmond is a tough team, man, a talented group. They were picked to finish first in the A10. They, like I said, last year, they showed up and showed out. And they have several different players that can score. So definitely watch out for them. Fordham was picked to finish tied for ninth in the A10. So, like I said, a big win for Fordham. And like I mentioned, a lot of these teams are going to beat up on each other. We're going to see, games where teams struggle, where teams are, you know, going to get upset. But, that happens. That's basketball. They're college athletes. So we'll see, man. That's going to be an interesting conference to keep an eye on for sure. And then we're going to move on to the next conference. We got the America East. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about Albany there in the America East Conference. Tough team. Kayla Cooper is leading the way. Like I mentioned, they played LSU a couple weeks ago. Like I think right before the holidays, they played LSU. And they were in that game. Like I said, they struggled to score in the fourth quarter. And that game kind of, got away from themselves. And I think they ended up losing by either 19 or 21, something like that. But that game was a lot closer than people thought was going to be the case. Like I said, Kayla Cooper, she's leading the way for them. She's averaging, 16, 17 points per game. She's definitely an early front runner for America East Player of the Year, so look out for her. And Albany picked up a big win to start conference play on Thursday as well. They jumped out to a 16-4 lead after the first quarter. They jumped on Vermont's head. It didn't look back. They ended up winning that game 64-55. And Vermont's one of those teams with Anna Olsen, who is also capable of winning America East Player of the Year as well. But they got off to a slow start. They couldn't hit shots. They struggled from the field early on. But as you see, they competed. They didn't give up. So they're definitely going to be a tough out for other America East teams. So we're going to see how they shake back. They have a game today, I believe, coming up. And then also Binghamton, they fell to NJIT 58-49. They were just struggling to score. In the fourth quarter, Olivia Kulik, the freshman from NJIT, had a double-double, 21 and 12. And like I mentioned, Binghamton struggled to score down the stretch. They only scored 4 points in the fourth quarter. So they have to find a way to generate some offense late in games, whether it's, Jaden Welts, Kaya Good, just trying to move the ball around. They have two tough guards that I just mentioned right there, averaging 2 steals a game. So we're going to see if they're able to, bounce back. They have a game today against UMBC. And then Maine defeated UMass Lowell on Thursday, 54-39. Maine is without key player Adriana Smith. She kind of led them last year alongside Ann Simon, who's a all-time great in Maine women's basketball. And they led them to the NCAA tournament last year. They won the America East. But I think without Adriana Smith, we're going to see Maine maybe struggle a little bit. They took care of business against UMass Lowell, but Lowell isn't, too good of a team, too big of a threat in the America East. So we're going to see how they match up today against a Bryant team who also picked up a win on Thursday. They beat UNH 61-49. Mia Mancini is still cooking. The sophomore had 23 points. She was the America East Rookie of the Year last year. So watch out for her. She can shoot the three. I think she hit 70-something threes last year. I have to double check that. But she can definitely shoot the ball. And like I said, Bryant plays Maine today, so we're going to see how that game shakes out. Um, and that's the American East pretty much for you. UMBC, they'll be playing their first game today. They have a new head coach, so look out for them. Um, but yeah, American East is probably going to run through Albany. We're going to see if anybody can slow down Kayla Cooper um, from trying to get Albany back atop the American East Conference. And then we're going to look at the MAC Conference, the Fairfield Stags, a team that made the NCAA tournament last year. Exciting team. They're going to defend. They're going to try to turn you over. They're going to shoot threes, spread the ball around. They have a tremendous sophomore duo in Katie Lamoureux and Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson won, Rookie of the Year in the MAC Conference last year. I think both were selected to like all conference teams as well last year. But they are without Janelle Brown, Nellie Brown, their top player, their senior leader, senior captain. She went down with an injury against Villanova, and she was pretty much misdo everything for Fairfield. But like I said, they're a deep team. They're talented. I think they'll be fine, especially in the MAC conference, which they dominated last year. We're going to see how they respond. Quinnipiac has a good squad so far this year. They sit atop the MAC conference at 3-0 currently, and they have 4 players averaging over double figures. So definitely look out for them. These two teams will match up January 30th. So we'll definitely have to circle back around at the end of the month, check in on these teams, see how they're doing in the MAC conference. And then we move on to the Big Ten conference. They have 3 ranked teams, or 7 ranked teams in the top 25, excuse me. UCLA, USC, Maryland, Ohio State, Michigan State, Iowa, and Michigan. Me personally, I'm not too sold on Indiana and Minnesota just yet. I got to see kind of how they shake up in the Big Ten. But as I mentioned before, UCLA, #1 team in the country. Coach Close has them playing at a very high level. Kiki Rice, Janiah Barker coming off the bench. Tamia Gardner was a big pickup in the transfer portal as well. She can stretch the floor, play the 4 position, and just give them another threat scoring alongside Kiki and Lauren Betts. So I think UCLA is definitely one of those top teams in the Big Ten that can take things over, win things. But USC's right there. Juju Watkins, Kiki, they have a talented group as well. Kennedy, the freshman. So we're going to see what USC can do atop the Big Ten conference, definitely competing for a Big Ten championship. We're going to see what they're able to do. Maryland, Cheyenne Sellers is killing it, leading the way. We're going to see if they can put wins together. I'm definitely interested to see how they match up against USC and UCLA. Some of the higher level competition in the Big Ten, as well as Ohio State. Man, they're going to pressure the ball. They're going to try to turn you over. Cody McMahon, Jelani Cambridge, they have a pretty good squad too, man. So watch out for Ohio State. Um, and then as far as the Big Ten, I also think that Washington and Oregon are 2 teams that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, not necessarily to win the conference per se, but I'm just interested to see how they shake up in the Big Ten. Like, can they compete against some of the top teams? Can they get an upset? Deja Kelly at Oregon is definitely going to try to lead the way. I was watching Washington play the other day against. I think they were playing uh, Illinois. I think they were playing, and they were in a tough battle with Illinois. That was a great game the other day. Um, but for Washington, yeah, it was Savia Sellers that was getting buckets out there for them. She was out there cooking, and she had 24, 8 assists against Illinois. They picked up a 9-point win against Illinois, um, and that was on the road at Illinois. So definitely showed that they are capable of winning road games in the Big Ten. They've already knocked off Northwestern and Illinois, both on the road. So it's going to be interesting to see what Washington can do, if they're able to, get more upsets, get more big wins, and try to sneak into that NCAA tournament field. So we're going to see what happens in the Big Ten. Now, as we move on to the Big 12, they only have three ranked teams. Utah's knocking on the door. As I mentioned before, Utah already knocked off Notre Dame earlier in the season, so that was a big win for them. Um, so we're going to see if they're able to sneak in the Big 12 right now. Kansas State, TCU are pretty much the two top teams in that conference. Ayoka Lee leading the way for Kansas State. She's a big, dominant big down low. We're going to see if anybody can try to slow her down and knock her off and, knock Kansas State off. Haley Van Lith and Sedona Prince, Madison Connor leading TCU. And I just have to say, man, Haley Van Lith is looking like Haley Van Lith from Louisville. She's out there hooping. She's scoring. She's getting others involved. She's not looking like the player she was looking like at LSU, and that's good for her. Great for her. As she, tries to make a name, or not really make a name, but put her face back on the map and amongst those top players in women's college basketball, because people definitely forgotten was talking bad, talking crazy about her while she was at LSU, but she's reminding people who she is and the level that she can play at. So that's good for her. Sedona Prince in her 10th year. let me stop. Nah, Sedona Prince, man, she's out there hooping. 6'7", dominant. So we're gonna see uh who can slow down these teams. Iowa State, they kind of slipped up a little bit. They had a tough non-conference schedule. They played South Carolina. They played UConn. So they lost a couple early games. But the sophomore Audie Crooks is tough down low as well. This is a conference filled with bigs that can go get buckets and that can change games. So we're going to see if Audie Crooks can turn things around, get them back in the top 25, and secure some upsets in the Big 12. I think this conference is low key, kind of open. Like I mentioned, TCU and Kansas State do sit atop the conference currently and are probably the two best teams in the conference. But Iowa State can make some noise. West Virginia's ranked and they can make some noise. So we're going to see, man. The Big 12 definitely going to be interesting to watch and keep an eye on. Now the ACC, man, this is the deepest league from top to bottom. From top to bottom, I think this is the deepest league, man. Uh, there's just a lot of talent, especially when you look at the guard play, right? You got Sanaya Rivers, Isaiah James, Hannah Hidalgo, Roy Harmon, Madison Booker. There's so many great guards in that conference. Tanaya Latson, who's leading the country in scoring. There's guards everywhere. Reagan Richardson. I can keep going. Danny Carnegie at Georgia Tech. Like, this conference is filled with guard play. Like, it's amazing to watch every night. In all honesty, like, you're gonna fall in love with a new player every night. So if you're not tapped in with the ACC, man, tap in with the ACC, man. There's some good players out there that you will definitely enjoy watching, man. So tap in with them. They got 6 teams ranked right now, but from top to bottom, man, anybody any given night can lose a game, and we saw that the other night, especially with Louisville. Louisville knocked off Miami. Miami has now dropped 2 games in a row. They lost to North Carolina, and then they lost to Louisville. So we're going to see if Miami can turn things around, but Louisville, um, they've been up and down so far this year. I saw them play NC State a few weeks ago before the holidays. They got smacked. They couldn't hit a shot, and they were at home. They were the home team. They got smacked. So I'm interested to see if Louisville is a true contender in the ACC. I think that was a good win for them, beating Miami, the Cavender Twins in Miami. So that was in Louisville. My bad. They knocked off Miami, but that was a good win for them. Definitely keep them in the conversation of some of those teams that can compete in the ACC. As I mentioned, the guard play, Florida State, Tanaya Latson, she just dropped 40 points on Virginia Tech the other night, made it look easy. They said she was just like the second player in the last 5 years to score 40 points, get 5 assists, and get 5 steals in a game. So she's tough, man. She's been a bucket since she walked on the campus of Florida State. And I'm glad that the world can see it now. She's averaging 28. Like I said, she's leading the country in points per game. But can it translate to postseason success? That's my big question with Tanaya Latson and Florida State. Can it transfer to postseason success? Last year they finished tied for like sixth in the ACC. They weren't bad. They made an NCAA tournament, but that scoring has to be able to translate to wins. They got it done defensively the other night. They like to turn teams over. So if they're able to turn teams over, make it ugly for other teams, that can lead to more wins. That can lead to more success. So we're going to see. They've had a tough little schedule. I think they played Tennessee in the non-conference, and Tennessee knocked them off slightly. So that was a good test for them. Two defensive teams, and we'll talk about Tennessee more. But two teams that like to turn you over, two teams that can score and get buckets. So that was a great matchup for them. But like I said, can the scoring translate to postseason success? We're going to see. We're going to see. NC State guards Sanaya Rivers, Isaiah James, Zoe Brooks, Zamaria James, the freshman. We're going to see what they can do. They're a talented group. Like I said, guards. That's four guards that I just named right there off that one team. So we're going to see what they can do in the guard play in the ACC. Tough guards all across the board. Notre Dame, they've been probably the most impressive team that I've watched so far this season. Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, Sonia Citron. They haven't even got Maddie Westbell back or Callie Watson back yet. Kate Koval stepped in and been playing big in the center position. Latua King transferred from Pitt, bucket. So they're a talented group. They get it done defensively. Science Citron is definitely one of the most underrated players in the country. What she was able to do defensively, we saw her match up against Paige and Juju, getting it done defensively. And her ability to score, knock down shots is killer. Olivia Miles, having her back has been big. Her ability to facilitate, she makes some crazy passes. You can just go to YouTube and type in Olivia Miles highlights. Crazy. Hannah Hidalgo has been playing like the best player in the country, hands down. Sophomore, she's a dog. She gets it done on both ends. She's averaging 4 steals per game, averaging 26 points per game. She's the smallest person on the court, and she's averaging 6 rebounds per game. So she's getting it done. They're definitely a team to watch. That's probably one of my favorite teams to watch right now, Notre Dame. So we're going to see what they're able to do. And like I said, they haven't even reached full form yet. They're still waiting to get two bigs back. And we know what West Bell can do. She was a bucket last year when they were only playing 7 players. So she's probably going to step back into that starting lineup relatively soon, would be my guess, and let King come off the bench. But like I said, they haven't even reached full form yet. So we're going to see how they look in ACC play and if they can stay healthy, because that's going to be a big issue with Notre Dame. And we saw that be an issue for them last year when they were only playing 7 players. So we're going to see. Next team we got Duke, Reagan Richardson. They like to get it done defensively. They're going to pressure the ball. They're going to try to turn you over. They have great guards as well. Ashlyn Jackson. They have the freshman Toby Fournier who can dunk. And then, yeah, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. They're going to be feisty. Probably going to make the NCAA tournament again. So look out for Duke. They're definitely a team to watch. Clemson, they got the upset on Thursday against Cal, number 20, at home. That was a big win for Clemson. They had come up short against NC State a few weeks ago. They tried to get the upset against NC State, but they just couldn't score down the stretch. But second half of this game against Cal, they got it done. The SC native, Loyal McQueen, she had a little layup to go into the half that put them up 36-35, and she kind of just took over in the second half. Cal was unable to score, so that was a big win for Clemson. We're going to be an interesting watch to see them compete in the ACC. I don't know if they'll be a top team. I don't even know if they'll make the tournament, but they can definitely, steal a few wins, get a few upsets, and try to make some noise. We're going to see. And then just moving on to the next conference, the SEC, big dogs, is loaded with talent. Texas just joined the conference. Oklahoma just joined the conference. Those two teams actually just matched up the other night, and it was Texas who got the rivalry game victory on Thursday night. So a good win for them. Roy Harmon, Madison Booker, as I mentioned before. We're going to see what they can do in the SEC. It's tough, it's loaded. Um, so we're going to see, man. Like I said, they had an 80-73 win. They have more tests in January coming up for Texas, though. They face Alabama, South Carolina, Maryland, and Tennessee all in the coming days and weeks. So that's a tough little stretch right there for them. We're going to see what they can do in the SEC. It's going to be tough. It's going to get ugly. So we'll see. I think a lot of these teams are going to be beating up on each other. So we're going to see who makes it out. Can South Carolina reclaim their throne and go back to back? Different squad with these guards, right? So Raven Johnson, Bree Hall, Malaysia Fulwale, Tessa Johnson. You got Chloe Kitts down low, Sanaya Fagan down low. Um, and they have a tremendous freshman in Joyce Edwards as well coming off the bench. Ashlyn Watkins also coming off the bench. So they're deep, they're loaded, they're talented. They just beat Missouri the other day. It was close in the first quarter, and then they kind of broke away. Just too much talent on that South Carolina team. So we're gonna see what they're able to do, um, and if they're able to get back atop the NCAA women's basketball. Uh, like I mentioned, they got knocked off by UCLA in the non-conference um, earlier this season. That was a good test for them, especially on the road, going out to California and playing at UCLA. That was definitely a good early test for them. I definitely think they'll learn from that game, um, and move the ball around a little bit better and be more prepared next time they match up against some of these top teams. Next team we're gonna focus on Tennessee. I got to see if they for real, man. Like I mentioned before, they're averaging 98 points per game. A college team averaging 98 points per game, like they getting straight to it, not faking. So we're gonna see. Talasia Cooper transferred from South Carolina. She sat out last year, um, but now she's back, averaging 17 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, and 3 steals per game. Long, athletic. They're gonna Tennessee's gonna try to turn you over. They're pressuring you full court. 94 feet. Yeah, yeah, that's enough. She's long, athletic. Uh, we're gonna see. We're gonna see if they're able to keep it up. They have 5 players averaging 11 points per game or more on the season. As I mentioned, they have a tough test coming up against Texas in a few days. So we're gonna see if they're able to keep it up. I don't know if they're going to be able to score 98 points per game or get close to it every game in the tough SEC, but they're definitely going to try to turn you over. So whenever you're playing Tennessee, for the SEC teams that's out there, whenever you're playing Tennessee, take care of the ball. Take care of the ball. Your guards have to be ready to play, and you can't turn the ball over. As I mentioned, they played Florida State earlier in the season. Tanaya Lasson was getting buckets. She was getting buckets, and she's the leading scorer in the country. So we're going to see if they can keep it up. Moving on, we got LSU. Can LSU run through the SEC? I don't know. They ran through the non-conference schedule. As I said, they had a little scare against Albany the other day. That was a 2-point game with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter before it broke open, and Albany was unable to score. I think, like I mentioned, Albany scored 2 points in the last 7 minutes of that game. You can't win a game like that. But for LSU, Anissa Morrow, walking double double, a beast on the glass. She's looking like she's back at DePaul the way she's hooping. Um, really, carrying the team. Offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, buckets down low, showing off the jump shot. They also have Michaela Williams, Flajay Johnson. They're a talented group. So we're going to see if they're able to run through the SEC like they did in non-conference play. Um, so we're going to see Kentucky, new coach Kenny Brooks leading the way. He brought a couple players from Virginia Tech over with him: Georgia Amore, Clara Strack. So guard and big combo. Georgia Amore has been cooking as she does, shooting threes. And they just lit up. Who did they play the other day? They played somebody the other night and they lit them up. Her and Deja Lawrence. I think they both hit like 7 threes in that game. And as a team, they hit 18 threes. Like I mentioned, they both hit 7, so that's 14 threes right there between the two of them. So they're going to be a fun team to watch in the SEC. I don't know if they'll win it, of course, but I definitely think they can knock off a few teams in the conference and try to make some noise. I think they'll get back to the NCAA tournament. They missed the tournament last year, which is the reason why they brought in Kenny Brooks to try to change things and get things turned around. Um, but we'll see. They're going to be an exciting team. They're currently 16th in the country. Um, and that was Mississippi State that they played the other day. They put up 91 points. They beat Mississippi State 91-69. Georgia Amore had 27 points. She was 7 to 10 from three. Deasia Lawrence had 28 points. She was 7-11 from three. So they're going to shoot threes. They're going to be a fun team to watch, especially in that backcourt with Amore and Lawrence. And then you got Claire Strike down low. She had 7 points, 11 rebounds. And Tioni Key, she had 13 rebounds, 10 points as well. So they have a good mix of size and a good mix of guards. We're going to see what they are able to do in the SEC conference. And then Vanderbilt, last team we're going to talk about in the SEC, Vanderbilt, the Commodores. They're coming. They're coming. They're young, talented. They top two players, sophomore and freshman. They're both averaging over 20 points. Sophomore and freshman averaging over 20 points on the same team. They're coming. Camille Pierre, only a sophomore, averaging 23 a game, 10 boards, 3 steals. Like, come on. Michaela Blake, freshman, 20 points. She just had 28 versus Georgia the other night. That was the most points scored by a freshman this year. How far can they go in the SEC? They're close to being ranked. They're right on the outside. So I'm sure they'll be ranked in the coming days. Whenever the next poll come out on Sunday, I think they release the next AP poll. So we'll see if they're ranked. Definitely a fun team to watch. Definitely a team to keep an eye on as well. And then we're gonna jump into my top 5 teams, man. We're gonna talk about top 5 teams, right? In the country right now. It's my list. Um, Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Who y'all top 5 teams, man? If y'all have any disagreements or any teams y'all want to throw in there, man, let me know, man. I'm down to hear it. But coming in at number 5 for my list, I'm gonna go with LSU. As I mentioned, they ran through non-conference play. Um, I got to see how they look in the SEC play. They're definitely a talented team. Like I said, Flajay Johnson, Michaela Williams, Nisa Murrow leading the way. But this SEC schedule is definitely going to let me know where they're at as far as top teams in the country. I'm going to put them at 5. At 4, I'm going to put Southern Cal, Juju Watkins, Kiki, Kennedy, Talia. We're gonna see what they can do. They had some big wins in non-conference against UConn, and they also matched up against Notre Dame. They lost that game against Notre Dame, but they matched up pretty good against them. So I'm interested to see what they can do and put them at 4. At 3, I'm gonna put the University of South Carolina. Deep team, talented team. Don's gonna have those girls ready to go. But I got to see some more from the bigs. Chloe Kitts, Sanaya Fagan, Joyce Edwards, Ashton Watkins. I got to see more from them. Tahina Powell's been shooting the ball pretty good. Raven Johnson has been knocking down shots at a high level. Malaysia Fulwiley, we know what she can do. Tessa Johnson getting it done on both ends. They're a very talented team, but like I said, I just got to see a little bit more from the bigs, and we'll see. There'll probably be 2 or 1 as the season goes along, as we get into SEC play, because they're a very talented team, well-coached team. So we're going to see. At number 2, I got UCLA. They're currently the number 1 team in the country, but I'm put them number 2 for right now. That's just my list. Kiki, Lauren Betts, they're going to get tested in the Big Ten. So we're going to see how they respond. Like I said, they knocked off University of South Carolina earlier in the season. But I'm going to put them at number 2. Nothing really too bad to say about them, but we'll see. And then number 1, Notre Dame. I talked about them earlier. They're probably my favorite team to watch. And like I said, they're not even 100% yet. So we haven't even seen them at their final form. So when they get Maddie Westbeld back, when they get Kylie Watson back, we're going to see them at full form. And it might get scary for a lot of teams. It was already scary before, but it might get even scarier for a lot of teams, especially in the ACC. We know Hannah Hidalgo can do on both ends of the ball. A menace on both ends of the ball. Olivia Miles, menace. Science Citron, menace. So we're gonna see, man. They're an exciting team to watch, a fun team to watch. So right now, that's my top five. Uh, Let me know what y'all think. UConn right there on the outside looking in. Texas right there on the outside looking in. For UConn, my only thing is who's going to help Paige. Sarah Strong, the freshman, has been coming along very, very strong recently. No pun intended. But I got to see more. I got to see it more consistently. They got AZ back the other day. She has to stay healthy though. She has to stay healthy. For UConn to be successful, she has to be healthy. Sarah Strong has to be getting buckets. So we'll see. Texas, Roy Harmon, Madison Booker. I just got to see a little bit more. I'm interested to see how they match up in the SEC now. Like I said, they picked up a big win against Oklahoma the other day, against Reagan Bears in Oklahoma the other day. But I got to see more. I got to see a little bit more. So those two teams are right there on the outside looking in. They can definitely sneak into the top five at any given point. If LSU were to slip up, or South Carolina were to slip, any of those teams were to slip up, they can sneak right in. But also keep an eye out on Tennessee. If Tennessee is able to turn teams over, get after it in transition, I think they struggle a little bit in the half court. But when they're able to turn teams over, get the ball out and run, they're a fun team to watch. So watch out for them in the SEC. If they're able to keep up that defensive pressure, they're going to be a fun team to watch. And then we're going to get into the games this weekend. That's going to be the last thing we talk about, right? Games this weekend. So starting off today, we got a top 25 matchup. We got UCLA going to Indiana. We're going to see how they do on the road. Indiana's a tough team. Not like I said, I'm not too sold on them yet. In the Big Ten, so we're going to see. It's going to be a good test for them to see where they're at. I think UCLA will win. UCLA will be fine. And they'll take care of business on the road. But I'm interested to see how Indiana looks against a top team in the country. And then we're going to go to the America East mid-major ball. Bryant is taking on Maine today. That'll be a good game. Mia Mancini, that I mentioned for Bryant, going up against Maine. Maine is always a tough place to play at. Just traveling up there, yeah, it's a long road trip. So Bryant has to be ready to play. If not, Maine can get the win. But I think Bryant is an early underdog favorite in that game. I would probably pick Bryant to win that game today. We got Albany at Lowell. Albany should take care of business against Lowell. Lowell just got smacked by Maine the other day, so Albany should be good there. UNH at Vermont, two teams that need to get a win in conference play. Vermont is at home, so you would think Vermont would take care of business against UNH. Vermont's always another, tough place to play. Their fans going to show up and show out for that contest and to support their teams. And shout out to Vermont too, man. Their men's soccer team just won the national championship a few weeks ago. So shout out to Vermont, man. Putting America East on the map, man. Shout out to them. And then you got Binghamton at UMBC. UMBC, their first game in conference play this year. Binghamton looking to bounce back from that loss against NJIT. That should be a good game. I think that'll be close. Can really go either way. So we'll see. Big 12, we got Arizona at UCF. Arizona just dropped the game, but I'm interested to see how they look in the Big 12. Jada is a bucket at the guard, but she's going to need some help. We're going to see what they are able to do in the Big 12. Possibly get some upsets, get some big wins. Today will be a good test traveling to UCF for this Arizona team. And then we got Kansas at Oklahoma State. That should be an evenly matchup game. Oklahoma State's close to being ranked. Kansas is also close to being ranked. So two good teams going against each other. We're going to see what happens with that. And then in the Big Ten, we got Wisconsin at Oregon. As I mentioned, Oregon is a team to keep an eye on that I'm going to be watching. With Deja Kelly, just seeing what she's able to do with that Oregon team. If she's able to get them some big wins. I think that'll be a good test today against Wisconsin, just to see if they're able to take care of business and get things done. Um, go to the MEAC, North Carolina Central at Coppin State. North Carolina Central is a bad team. I'm just gonna say that North Carolina Central is a bad team. I think they have like 2 wins on the season. Coppin State is definitely a team that can possibly win the MEAC. They had a big win earlier in non-conference. I think they beat a Power Five school. Let me double check on that. But they did knock off a Power Five institution. Let me confirm that for y'all. They knocked off Arizona State. They beat them 74-68 in overtime. They played Virginia close. Lost 74-66. So that was a good test for them. But like I mentioned, they knocked off Arizona State. They played South Carolina as well. Lost 92-60. Lost to Maryland 70-47. So MEAC's a one bid lead. They're definitely sitting atop and one of those teams to keep an eye out on in the MEAC, as well as Norfolk State. Norfolk State, they had a big win the other day against Auburn. Um, Went to Auburn, knocked off Auburn. Diamond Johnson, the transfer from North Carolina State, has been there for a few years now, a couple years now. They have a talented squad at Norfolk State. I think they played Alabama earlier this year. Um, played them, played them pretty close. So they knocked off Auburn. They lost to North Carolina 90-47. They got smacked. They beat a St. Louis team from the A10. That's pretty good. Um, so that was a good win for them in December. And then in November, they beat William and Mary. They beat Missouri. They beat Missouri 57-54. So a MEAC team going to the SEC and knocking off an SEC opponent, big time. Um, and they lost to Alabama, as I mentioned, 68-58. So they competed in that game. Um, but came up short. So Norfolk State is definitely another team in the MEAC to keep an eye on. Um, and Norfolk State and Coppin State will match up next week, January 11th. So yeah, definitely circle that one. Keep an eye out on that one. And then moving on to Sunday, got some top 25 teams in action. Notre Dame at UNC. That'll be a good one. We got South Carolina at Mississippi State. Mississippi State just fell to Kentucky the other day. But, we'll see what South Carolina can do traveling to Mississippi State, traveling to Starksville. We're going to see what they're able to do. And then Oklahoma will play at Tennessee. That'll be a good test. Oklahoma's coming off the loss. They're ranked. Reagan Beers dominate down low. So we're going to be able to see what she's able to do against Tennessee. As I mentioned before, Tennessee is going to try to turn you over. So Oklahoma has to be ready. The guards have to be ready to play, ready to perform, and try to get the win over Tennessee. I think that's going to be a great game. Definitely can be close if Oklahoma take care of the ball. Could get ugly if they don't take care of the ball. So we'll see. Kentucky's at Vanderbilt. That's going to be a good game on Sunday. Kentucky, like I mentioned, Georgia Amore, Claire Strack, DeAsia. We're going to see what they're able to do against a young Vanderbilt team that's hungry. Looking for a big win, a signature win. That'll be a good win to get for if you're Vanderbilt against a ranked opponent, top 25 caliber team that can compete for the SEC. So that'll be a big win for Vanderbilt if they're able to get it done. You got Maryland at Iowa, Cheyenne Sellers for Maryland. Iowa, Hannah Stalkey, Lucy Olsen, looking to keep things going for Iowa, turn things around for Iowa. So that'll be a good game in the Big Ten. And then you got Cal and SMU. Cal looked to bounce back after the loss to Clemson. SMU will look to keep going. I think they beat Stanford the other night. So we'll see. That should be a good game. USC at Rutgers. Keone McMillan, Juju Watkins, Kiki, stars all across the board in that matchup. I think USC will get it done. But let's see what Rutgers can do. Can they compete or will they get blown out? We'll see. Got Virginia Tech at Miami. That'll be a good game. Miami, like I said, they dropped 2 games in a row. They're going to look to bounce back. Can the Cavender twins get going? Or can Virginia Tech turn things around after giving up 40 points to Tanaya Latson on Thursday? So we'll see. Syracuse at Florida State. Syracuse always is a tough out. Uh, Florida State, Tanaya Latson leading the way, averaging 28 points per game, leading the country. We're going to see if Syracuse is able to slow her down any. It's going to be a tough task, but we're going to see. And then going to the A10, we got Richmond at UMass. Richmond will look to bounce back. Like I said, they lost by 2 the other day to Fordham. So they'll definitely look to get back on track against UMass. Dayton at VCU. VCU look to take care of business at home. Dayton looking to compete. I think they lost the other day. I think they might have lost the other day, but I think that'll be an evenly matched game. St. Joe's will take on LaSalle. St. Joe should handle business. Like I mentioned, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. They're currently ranked 8th in the country in shooting threes and 3-point field goal percentage. So St. Joe's is definitely a team to watch. 3 players in the top 5 of the A10 conference in scoring. So look out for them in the A10. And then Fordham at Duquesne, that'll be a good matchup. Like I said, Fordham beat Richmond the other day. Duquesne barely lost to VCU the other night. So that'll be a good game. A10 is definitely, like I said, one of the best mid-major conferences in the country. So if you're not tapped in with the A10, go tap in with the A10. Richmond, St. Joe's, VCU, George Mason, all good teams in that conference. Tap in with them. But we're right in the middle of conference play. So a lot of changes going to be coming in the coming days, in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, man. Stay tapped in, man. We got more content on the way. And me and the boys will be back soon, man. I don't know if the next day that we're recording, but I'm sure we're coming back with some football content. NFL playoffs are right around the corner. We're definitely going to have some more women's basketball and college basketball content coming y'all way. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Tap in with us. Let us know. Talk to us in the comments, man. We love to hear y'all, man. Hear from y'all, man. If y'all got any questions for us, man, let us know. Might feature it on the show, man. But we out. I'll catch y'all on the next time.